Hey guys, today we need to talk about sound. Before we start to play a new instrument, it's really important for us to know about sound and how it works. Maybe if you've already had this unit in 8th grade science, you know that sound is nothing more than vibration. And because of that, we know a couple of things about sound. We first know that it travels in waves, and if we were to capture it, it would look a little bit like this blue wave on the screen right now. Because sound travels in waves, we can measure parts of these waves and we can notice what their physical effect is on the sound we hear. And that way we can talk intelligently about how sound works. Now, one of the things we can measure is the wavelength of the sound. That's how often that pattern gets repeated in a certain amount of time. This we measure by measuring its frequency, how often that repetition happens. The other thing we can measure is how tall that sound wave is from a center point, and that's called its amplitude. That amplitude roughly is the wave height. Now, these have effect on the sounds we can hear. The frequency of a sound wave, how fast or how slow it moves, relates to its pitch, the highness or lowness of the sound. And the height of a wave relates to the intensity or the loudness and softness that we can hear in the sound. So here we have some diagrams of waves with different pitch. You can see the frequency of the blue line is greater on the left-hand side than on the right-hand side. This is a faster frequency. That faster frequency relates in a higher pitch. The slower frequency on the right is lower in pitch. And you can see that we measure these in hertz, that frequency of 3 hertz as compared to 1 hertz. On the bottom of the screen, we can see how the height of the wave, its intensity, its amplitude can be seen. On the left-hand side, we have a really tall amplitude in that sound wave, as opposed to the one on the right, which is shorter. Those with greater or higher amplitude have a louder sound. Those with a lower amplitude have a quieter sound. Now, the properties of sound that we can talk about are pitch, the highness and lowness of the sound we hear, intensity, the loudness or softness, the sound's duration, which we will explore a lot when we start to talk about how to notate that, and the timbre of the sound that we hear. Timbre is how one sound is different from another. When we take a look at the branch of physics that studies how sound is produced, it's acoustics. And acousticians talk to us about how sound gets produced. There are 3 requirements. There must be something that is set into motion to create that vibration. They refer to that as the oscillator or the vibrator. You also have to have an activator or an actuator. This is how energy is applied to the oscillator or vibrator to set it into motion. You have to have energy, you have to have a substance that's vibrating. And then most importantly for us to be able to hear, we need to have a resonator. A resonator allows the oscillator to continue vibrating and then transmits that vibration so that it can be amplified or increase its wave height so that it can be heard and amplified. Any change to how sound is produced affects the sounds we hear. That creates part of what is called timbre. In our next video, we're going to talk about how acousticians categorize musical instruments. See you later.